Hi there. I am kind of coming out of semi-retirement. Look, I made myself a little bit of a promise, and it wasn't that I would never make another video again. It was more, I wouldn't make another video until I felt passionate about the subject, that it wouldn't be something that I felt like I had to do out of obligation. And I really haven't felt that in a while. That's not really a criticism of the filmscape out there. It's more just me and going through what I'm going through. But last night changed things, and I watched a movie that I really just, it stuck with me. I fell asleep thinking about it. I woke up thinking about it, and I just wanted to talk about it. So here we go, back in front of the camera. And the movie I'm talking about is 2025's It Ends. Written and directed by Alex Ulam. I believe, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Apologies if I'm not. This is a bit of an indie darling. It's a hidden gem that's kind of been hitting the festival circuits and so forth lately. You can rent it right now from the Letterboxd video store for $20. Look, here's the thing is, this is a film that the premise alone was kind of what sold me on it, and it's just something that I adore. It's that simple, singular concept kind of thing that really draws me into it. And at first glance, it kind of seemed like maybe it would be a little bit of a low-budget ripoff of the Ray Wise, Lin Shaye film Dead End. The premise basically is that 4 college students are trapped on a road. They drive, and they drive, and they drive, and they drive, and that's it. And there's like, they wind up on this road and they don't seem to be able to find any way out of the situation. So I had a very measured level of anticipation towards this one, but it really surprised me in a lot of ways. And I think this is going to be a film that is very, very divisive. Maybe not Skinamarink divisive, but it's going to split people into 2 different camps, I think. But if you just want the quick, long, and short of it, yes, I do recommend it. This was a film that I enjoyed very much. It has an hour-and-a-half long runtime, and at one point, I paused the movie to go and get some water, go to the bathroom, whatever, and I saw it had only 20 minutes left, and I was kind of sad about it. I wanted it to continue on longer. I wanted to be a part of this journey longer. I'm sure that there's some people watching this video that have already watched the movie and are thinking I'm absolutely nuts by that statement. So be it. I stand by it. But that's pretty much how I feel in a spoiler-free fashion. But what I really want to do is just genuinely talk about this movie in an open way. So from here on, spoiler warning, here we go. 2025's It Ends. All right, so there was so much about this movie that genuinely surprised me. Here's the thing is when we have a singular simple concept like this, it's something that I spend most of the movie trying to figure out the mystery, the why, the who, the what, and how they're going to get out of it and so forth. And it kind of, obviously, if you're watching this and you don't mind spoilers, so assuming you've seen it already, you know that that's not the case, that there's no real explanation found. And I think that's where it's going to wind up in the 2 divisive camps, is the people that are unsatisfied by that and the people like me that maybe had the ability to pivot in the middle of the movie with my expectations, stop thinking of it in a kind of a practical mystery, who done it, why done it, so forth sense, and start kind of recognizing it as maybe not necessarily a direct allegory, but at least more of a think piece than an actual structured, characters-driven storyline. And as that think piece, I think it succeeded wildly. I do think this is a movie that's going to be winding up in its own worst enemy kind of camp, especially with the press releases going out, the media junkets and the publicities and so forth that are going out with the writing that it is. I think it's setting an unreasonable expectation, maybe even just completely misleading in its own way. So like a group of recent grads head out on a late night drive for grub, hoping to enjoy one final hangout before they're past the verge. All good there. Instead, they accidentally turn onto a never-ending 2-lane hellscape surrounded by untold horrors and cosmic forces beyond their understanding. We start getting into a little bit of tricky territory there. Yes, cosmic forces beyond their understanding. Absolutely, that's kind of the premise of it. Untold horrors. Yeah, I mean, I guess so, but it draws the imagery that there's going to be the Mist-style monsters coming out of the woods, and instead it's just people laying down that desperately want to get in the car. No, the conflict is not man versus monster or man versus creature or anything like that. Not even necessarily man versus nature. It's more just man versus self as they go through this journey. Sometimes man versus man, but really they're kind of going through this journey of conflict within themselves together. And that's the principal driving element of the film. No pun intended. Yeah, I do think that untold horrors, those two words are probably going to drive people a little bit nuts, expecting a different film than what we got. I honestly, as much as you know that I hate locking things into genres, but I didn't find a whole lot of horror to be found within this one. Instead, it was more just dramatic think piece that happened to have cosmic, somewhat supernatural, but I would just say more cosmic kind of settings than anything else. Anyway, so let's get into the imagery, the allegory, or the allegorical nature of this film. I don't really find any kind of direct, this is what it was about, in a kind of a linear fashion. I mean, the closest I can come to is life, that you're dumped out onto this road and you don't have any explanation for it. There's no going back. The only way moving is either standing still where you are or moving forward. And they have the means to move forward. The imagery of this being a complete 100% one-to-one allegory of life is a little simplistic, but I did find a lot of inspiration with that in what the characters were going through as they were driving down this road. I ran the numbers, I did the math on this, and it doesn't look like they were going very fast with a few exceptions. It looks like they were going about 30 or 40 miles per hour or so. And calculating the number of miles that they drove, the Jason being the last character, I believe it was Jason, the last character, if they drove at a steady 30 to 40 mile per hour clip with approximately 12 90-second breaks periodically every day, then he would have been driven about 4.5 years in this film before he turned around and started heading back the other way. The other two characters of Fish and, the name is eluding me and it's not written on IMDb, but the other two characters that were in the car with him the majority of the time, they went about 3.75 years or so. So he had nearly a year of driving all on his own once they dropped him off. Look, I think that having that Jason character was very integral to my enjoyment of the film, and here's why. This is going to be a little bit of an interesting one, but follow me, please. Because his journey was trying to break down and solve the mystery, and that was my journey too. I'm watching this film, and much like when I watched Dead End for the first time, I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I loved that they started recognizing the impossible aspects of this and then coming up with theories that were also impossible. Like, it didn't take them long to think, are we dead? Are we dreaming? Is this lucid dream? I've never been through a lucid dream like this before. Starting to go down the line, because our gas tank should be empty, and it's simply not. The car should not be running. So in the light of this impossible piece of evidence, now we need to consider things beyond the possible. And I love that they went that route. It was like I was in the car with them. My thought process echoed their thought process, and that was very refreshing. That doesn't happen very often in movies, I gotta be honest. But his journey of always trying to find the reasons, anytime they come across something new, he has to find the reason for it, the symbolism behind it, what it means, the rain, what does it mean? The other cars stopping on the road, what does it mean? The fact that things went from 90 minutes or 90 seconds of any kind of periodic stop to just simply not happening anymore. It's like, what does that mean? And insofar as he would not participate, he wouldn't go through the dance party, he wouldn't scream with the others, he wouldn't go through the routines that they developed to keep themselves happy, or at the very least relatively happy, sane, and so forth. He was completely 100% devoted to solving the mystery at the expense of living. Not just being alive, but living. And that carried him through. So my thought process as I was watching this, of trying to figure out what was going on, why, how, who, and so forth, as he was going through the same thing, and it started to become clear within the narrative of the film that his journey in that was limiting and folly, it allowed me to break away from that. It allowed me to break away and say, maybe that's not the right approach to take. It certainly doesn't seem to be the right approach that he's taking, because it is affecting his happiness, it is affecting his relationship with the other people in the car, and maybe that's just the wrong way to be looking at this movie. And I'm very glad that I did that, because it did allow me to pivot. And when I go into a film and I'm just rigid in my thought process of what it should be, and it winds up diverting from that or not meeting my expectations. No matter how good the film is, it always feels a bit lackluster. So it helps when I allow myself to be a bit more malleable, and this movie gave me that permission, that cue to do exactly that. And when he reaches the end and he's despondent and he realizes that there are no more answers, he gives himself the grace to drop the mystery. He gives himself the grace to say, I've had it wrong and it's time to turn around. And then he picks somebody up from the field and starts driving with them and asks them one of the inane questions that he rolled his eyes at so hard and didn't see the point of for so long. And it just started to click that he finally gets that it's not necessarily the destination, but it is the journey. It's who we share the journey with. It's the banal, weird interactions that we have that make the journey worth it. And he missed out on so much of that. And I don't blame him if he's mourning that and trying to recapture some of it as he continues driving on down the road. As far as the other two, played by Noah Toth and Kira Jackson, I get it. Like, I don't think that stopping and getting out of the car and going to live amongst the fields is necessarily an allegory for death. So when they get out and they quit, I don't think that's necessarily them quitting life, if you get my meaning. I think it's more resignation. I think it's more that they have lived, they have enjoyed each other's company, they have done their best in very trying circumstances, they have developed the routines, they have worked towards them, they have danced, they have screamed, they have interacted, they have done the stupid quiz, they have enjoyed what Jason missed out on until they felt like it was enough and they were done. And now it's time to have some resignation. Here's where I think that things went really wrong, is when they took the keys out of the ignition. They had every right to do that. They had every right to make that judgment call and make that decision for themselves. They had no right to make that decision for Jason. That should have been an individual call. And I respect the first guy to that out of the car, played by Mitchell Cole, for making that decision for himself and saving the others the grief and the pain and so forth. He did it in the way that allowed him to be able to make that call while also avoiding the interactions that made it uncomfortable. But he was a little bit of a different circumstance. I'll get to him in a bit. But I do think that them taking the keys out of the ignition and taking that decision and that agency away from Jason was absolutely the wrong way to go about it. Would Jason have allowed them to do that without making that point, like really hammering it home with a act of symbolism like that? And they basically would just say, like, we are done, you continue on if you want to, kind of thing. Would he have actually done it? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Tough to say. And there's a large part of me that is just kind of interested in these two characters that have decided the journey is now done and we can stop together. I think it's kind of beautiful in its own way. As far as the first guy that got out of the car, Mitchell Cole, I think that was a different situation. It wasn't a peaceful resignation. It was more, he always seemed to be interested in growth. I think that he shared a lot of the obsession and passion that Jason did, but instead of in figuring out the mystery, it was more in growth. The fact that he was continually doing the push-ups outside of the car and getting frustrated that it looked like he wasn't making any progress with that. It just felt like if he wasn't able to grow and move forward, then it wasn't worth experiencing anymore. That was the take that I got from him. And I don't think that that's necessarily the healthiest one, but he made the decision for himself and he got out of the car before everybody else. As far as the people go that are out in the woods, I mean, we have a lot of different circumstances there. I mean, if you were on the road, you probably did what they did. You drive for so long going down one stretch and, no gas station, no whatever. You turn around and try to go back the way you came. So I imagine a lot of people hit that dead end point. And I don't know, maybe they turned off the engine as they got out of the car. I mean, there's a number of circumstances in which somebody would stop at that moment. And if we're taking it into the allegory of life thing, then we also kind of get to the fact that historically, childbirth is one of the biggest causes of death that have ever been around. It's not a very simple, peaceful biological process. It is rough. And without modern medicine, and even with modern medicine, it can still be very dicey. So the fact that there's so many people so aggravated and so wanting to get down the road that are right at the start of things kind of makes a little bit of sense. And as they go on and they go on and they go on, they get people that have exited the road, I would say, too soon and want to continue on. But eventually they do get to the point in which the people that have exited the road and have now laid in the fields are there of their own volition. They have resigned. They have seen what the journey will take. They have been a part of it, and they felt like their time has come and gone. And now it's time, like the two that got out of the car, to just simply be peaceful and resigned to the situation. Even so far as, like asking the guy, hey, is this your car? And he just looks at them and then looks back at the sky. Probably was his car. Who knows? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But if it was, he's okay with that. He's just there to lay down. Anyway, like I said, these are all thoughts that have been going through my head. And this is a movie that has sparked that, which I find so refreshing. I love movies that spark that thought process, that spark that interest, and just get me thinking about it when I go to sleep, get me thinking about it when I wake up. It's that's what I love movies for. And it's been a little while since I've experienced that. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Either way, I would love to hear from you. So go ahead and leave your comments down below. I look forward to reading them, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video, whenever that may be. It is when it is. So until that time, take care. I'll talk to you soon.